like to start with you on the story of management dashboarding in the manufacturing industry, and it's a short story of what we've been doing with a client of ours. Who am I? I'm Geert Verstraeten. I started my career 20 years ago at university, but then started my own company in algorithms, which is called Python Predictions. And last year we integrated into Tobania. So I'm still leading the data science team of Python Predictions. It's a team of 15 people. But beyond that, we have over 50 people interested and working on data at Tobania. And I'm leading that story as well. To make it a little concrete, we have a lot of cool use cases, obviously, in manufacturing. There's preventive maintenance, trying to predict when things will break. We saw a great story of that earlier. There's obviously the launch of more and more robotics in all our processes, in all our manufacturing processes, but other processes as well. There's a lot of stock optimization possible, and so on and so on. So if you look at it, we can be very happy about the progress that we are making in manufacturing, like in any other domain. And you might think of bubbles when you see what AI is doing. When I've been in this field for quite some time, and when I think of bubbles, I sometimes think of the bubbles that tend to pop. And I want to start with you with the 5 reasons I think that AI may be overrated. The first thing is that we have an unclear definition on what AI today really is. For some people, it's really novel technology. For others, it's technology that has been around for 40 or 50 years. So what is the danger there is that some companies benefit from this lack of understanding or confusion to position their services as AI, which is not always that useful, because if you build a business based on confusion, it's not very viable. Obviously, in the end, we will understand what it is about. The second thing we see happening pretty often is that a lot of companies are in it for the show rather than for the business case or for the money. It can be a high visibility case, but it can also be something that helps people get to the next step in their career. Obviously, there I think it is a bubble that might pop in the long run, because what is visible and what is cool today is not necessarily what will be cool tomorrow. So I think it's really crucial to keep the business case always in mind. The third reason why we see some potential warning signs in our area is what I would call the paradox of speed. There's a lot of companies that are investing in new technology in such a rapid pace that they're not actually producing anything anymore. And what that means is they continuously go for the latest technologies without making the best possible use of what they have already. And so instead of going very, very fast, they are actually at a standstill. The fourth bubble that I see coming is some people have a blind trust in the algorithm, and this was pretty shocking to us when we start our career in 2006 in the market, explaining to people that we can trust algorithms. Today we meet clients that trust algorithms more than they should, and indeed from a lot of communities there's an increased pressure on explainability, and I think that's a very important tip, and something we'll see more, that will try to understand what the algorithms exactly are doing. And the fifth and final reason why I see it's sometimes not working is the gap that is still there between management and analytical or data related teams. And in a lot of companies, C-level knows they have to be more data driven, but and the analysts or data scientists or technical people understand that it's important to bring the story to C-level, but beyond knowing that they exist, they often don't have a productive dialogue. Now, if I break something down, I have to bring you something new in the place, and what I propose you is the framework that we've been using at Tobania for building the intelligent data organization. And I'll drive you through the story based on the use case that we did, as I mentioned before, in manufacturing on creating a management dashboard. So basically, why would companies want to become increasingly data driven? Well, there's a number of benefits starting from strategic benefits. If you build a management dashboard, a management cockpit, that's obviously for arriving at better strategy, as better strategy implementation. Improved tactical decisions are obviously extremely important, like predicting which machine will break down is sometimes a small decision if you have a lot of machines, but a lot of small decisions can mean a lot of value. And for many companies, being data-driven also means they can detect new opportunities much faster and they can execute on them much faster. And the benefits typically fall in 4 big domains: the domain of marketing with an improved customer experience, the domain of risk, fraud and credit risk, for example, domain of improved processes, operational efficiency, and then finally the domain of HR. Also our skills management is increasingly done based on data. Now the key is there's much more to building a data-driven organization than scoring with an artificial intelligence use case. So data usage is indeed one of the components, one of the layers of a data-driven organization, but it's only one of them. Building great algorithms and building data products are important, but it doesn't end there. We often neglect the value of analytics. For example, what is the impact of Corona for our company? And we sometimes should place dashboarding higher on the agenda. But to arrive at all this, you need obviously strong data foundations. All data are in the sources, they're connected, but they need to be organized in a certain way, and enters the role of data architecture to organize it in a way that you can solve your most important issues, obviously on platforms, often cloud platforms nowadays, and with the bottleneck of data engineering, which is basically the task to make the data move consistently and solidly trustworthy from the data sources to the data products. What is rather new to a lot of companies is information management with data governance, making sure that everybody has access to the right data, not more and not less, solid documentation so people understand what they mean with certain data concepts and definitions, and making sure that data quality remains. What companies don't invest on often enough is making sure there's a good data strategy. So how do we translate a company strategy to the analytical strategy, making sure there's a business case and that we commit to the business case, that the investments are always in light of realizing the business case. Analytical translation from a management challenge to a case that we can solve with analytics is important. And how do we design our organization around data strategy? The challenge that we tackled with this manufacturing company in West Flanders was both to create the vision on how they want to build a data-driven organization and a short-term use case of creating a management dashboard. And that was really intentional in the sense that we wanted them to think about being data-driven, but we wanted them also to have something very concrete that they could work on so that they could start to understand the more technical concepts on a C-level. And so we took a lot of time to sit together with C-level to figure out what are the topics you would like to see in your management dashboard, what are the most important topics. And we saw a lot was related to marketing, there was a lot related to operations, and a lot of stuff in between those, and in other domains as well. It's intentional that you cannot read the exact wording on the slide because this is quite confidential, obviously, what gets into the final management dashboard. But doing this, and as you see it, it's a Miro dashboard, so we did this in an online context, delivered a lot of enthusiasm about which figures are actually most important to drive our strategy in our team. And then we prioritized based on 2 important dimensions. The first one is on the left, how important are the decisions that we could make if we have this continuously. And the second dimension on the top was how often would we need to see this information? Is it per quarter, or is it typically continuously real time? And based on that, we selected some high priorities. And in this concrete example, before this first, I love the word minimum lovable product. Before the first version of this dashboard, people were just sending Excel lists around, not even graphs in Excel. And the CEO received a bunch of Excel tables that he had to scroll through. After a couple of days of thinking, we arrived at the first dashboard. It's not this one because I can't share you the actual one, but you can imagine what it looks like a little bit. There's progress on units produced, there's progress on units solved. You can zoom in into certain products, and obviously you can do it on your cell phone, which offers a completely different experience than sending around a bunch of Excel files. And if I don't want to state that our dashboard was so spectacular or novel, but what I do want to state is I want to come back to my statement of before. Scoring with AI and an AI use case is something very, very different. It's a different challenge than building a data-driven organization. And sometimes a use case is useful, but it's so important to keep the discussions in mind. And what we realized in this project is that through the dashboard, we made something visible, but we made it obviously also very clear that there was a lack of data foundations. And so we increased the dialogue between the technical people in the company and C-level to talk about investment in more data foundations, data warehousing, because all this information needs to be aggregated, stored, the quality needs to be improved. We're starting the discussions on information management, and throughout the whole project, we had data strategy in mind, and with the eye on making better, important company decisions. So that was my story I had for you today. You can reach me still at my Python predictions email address. And I look very much forward to any questions you may have on this challenge, on this topic.